there, listeners. Are you feeling the weight of the world? Well, you're not alone. The U.S. Surgeon General says nearly 50% of parents are overwhelmed by stress. And guess what? It's affecting us all. Just last year, we heard about an epidemic of loneliness hitting half our population, especially young adults. But there's hope. I'm Scarlett Lewis, founder of the Choose Love movement. We're dedicated to your safety, health, and well-being with proactive mental health strategies. Imagine a life where stress and loneliness are replaced by joy and connection. We've already reached millions with essential life skills to prevent violence, substance abuse, and mental illness. Want to join this life-changing movement? It's easy. Visit chooselovemovement.org today. Become a member, spread the word, and access our free resources. Together, we can create a loving, supportive community. Remember, all the nurturing, healing love you give comes back to you tenfold. Thank you for choosing love.
I choose love. I choose love.
Welcome to the Choose Love podcast, where we explore how courage, gratitude, forgiveness, and compassion in action can help us navigate even the darkest moments of life and grow through them. My name is Scarlett Lewis, and I'm the founder of the Choose Love movement. Today, we're honored to welcome Roman Gabriel III, a former professional quarterback, speaker, author, and passionate advocate for youth, families, and communities ravaged by the opioid epidemic. Roman is the founder and president of the Sold Out Youth Foundation, a national movement dedicated to helping students live a drug and alcohol abstinent life by committing to excellence, character, and accountability. Through his work in schools and sports programs across the country, Roman is tackling one of our most urgent crises we face today: fentanyl poisoning and drug-related deaths amongst our youth. His message is raw, real, and full of hope. Let's dive into this powerful conversation about addiction, faith, family, and how choosing love and life can save a generation. Welcome, Roman.
Hi, Scarlett. How are you? Great to be with you.
Yeah, it's so great to have you here as well. And let's just dive right in. Why are you doing this work?
Well, to make a long story short, my wife and I, started in working with schools back in 1997, and we were fortunate to serve for 6 years with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes in North Carolina, Arkansas, and Kansas. And there was a program that still exists today called One Way to Play Drug and Alcohol Free, and it was a program for student athletes and from grade school to college. And we love that program because similar to what you're doing, it didn't just talk about what you shouldn't do. It talked about what your life should be about, which is faith, family, and what you have a passion for. So for what we did for public schools is about 12 years ago, we were approached by a group of men that were in the community that had lost their program through the DARE program being disassembled and defunded. So what I did was I kind of volunteered my services to say, listen, if you guys want to help fund this, be glad to provide a drug and alcohol education program for our local public schools. So innocently started out in 3 school districts in Western North Carolina, and through the grace of God grew to over 50 counties in North Carolina within about 6 years. And then fast forward to COVID, when we were, shut out of the schools because of that, when kids were not allowed to go back to school, we transitioned the program to a 100% online program, working with our school partners who we had worked with for, 6 to 7 years. So the schools actually helped us to develop this program here where I live in the East Coast, Dare County, North Carolina. And from that, we developed a parental program, an education program for parents that they could receive through the school's already existing communication system portal. We developed a counseling school staff program so we could educate all adults involved with this. And then we provided an approvable, risk mitigating, comprehensive 8-minute video presentation to students in their homeroom or elective classroom, which the schools were very amenable to. And we were able to reach K4 through K12 students and quantify that, which is something that's been really hard for a lot of organizations to do because most schools don't want to let people in from the outside. They no longer, after COVID, want to take kids out of the classroom for assembly. So we had to find a way to reach the kids where they're at and to do it in a way that fit with the way schools develop curriculum and their computer curriculums and their dissemination communication systems. So, real simply, we're able to reach every parent in a district, every school staff and administrator, and every student in a district through this really simple online powerful program that takes on the fentanyl issue and teaches kids what they need to know about fentanyl. And those three things are real simple: that fentanyl is dangerous and can cost you your life, that if you have the proper information on it, you can help yourself and your friends. And then number three, most importantly, because they're being approached on their cell phones and on their computers and through video games, to teach kids to be vigilant, not to be impacted online purchasing what would be fake fentanyl pills or pharmaceutical pills or recreational drugs that they're approached by online. So we also have a feedback system through our pledge program where we offer kids an opportunity to take a drug and alcohol abstinence pledge at the end of our program. And we see over 80% of middle school students that'll take that pledge and almost 50% of high school students that'll take that pledge. So we're not just talking about a warning program, about a proactive program that kids take accountability for their life and recognize that the best way to stay away from the danger of fentanyl or any other drug or alcohol is to be drug and alcohol abstinent. And that really over years has been the only successful approach to drugs and alcohol for underage kids.
Well, let me go back because you mentioned the DARE program. And I remember knowing that my son went through the DARE program. I think he must have been 11 years old because at a dinner party that I was having with some friends, he was sitting next to me, and afterwards they were just talking and he was bored. And I look over at him and he is miming, taking, this thing to tie off to create a vein, I guess, a tourniquet. And then he's turning some sort of vial over and he's, getting out some stuff in a needle. And then he passes out like that. He's joking, feigning, such big, I guess, boredom. But I was looking at him going, what are you doing? And he said, oh, I just did the drug awareness program at it was at middle school. He said, I know every drug. I know what the street name is. I know how to do it. I know where to find it. And, it was just a quick thought, Roman, in my mind. I was like, wait a minute. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think we're doing this the right way. And I remember at one point I did go online and I looked up the DARE program and I looked up the efficacy of that. And it was zero and I can't find it anymore, but there had been research and I did see a zero. And I'm just wondering, I think that DARE, if I think about drug awareness in schools, I think about DARE. And I'm sure that, I've spoken about this before, and somebody came up and defended her husband that was teaching it. And I said, you know what? I think it depends on the instructor, of course. But if you look at the number of drug users and the number of overdoses, clearly what we're doing isn't working. And, doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result is not the way to go. And so can you talk to a little bit about, the DARE program as opposed to Sold Out?
The DARE program was a grade school program for the most part. And I will say this, that one of the positive things about the DARE program is that the sheriffs and police departments were involved. And it's
I love that too.
So important for students to see them in a positive light as opposed to some of the things that they see or are exposed to when it's always about the negative.
Right.
But I think this is an evolution really, because we were a very similar type of program in terms of assembly type of a program before the schools really went all out for computer curriculum. So we were really fortunate to work with schools who were developing the computer curriculums. And as the computer curriculums came about, we were able to integrate our program, into a computer-friendly delivery system. So that's a big difference between somebody coming and talking to kids and actually providing, extensive follow-up material and different ways to integrate that material within the school's curriculum and the school's scheduling. So, I'll give you an example. When we started, as I said, we were assembly program, but after COVID, we had to go to a social distancing program, knowing that kids were getting their information online. So we had to front load a lot of our video information because nobody knew how long the kids were online and whether they were actually staying online. So, we were able to make our program much more direct, concise, and targeted based upon the feedback we received from students and from schools about how they were disseminating their educational information. So consequently, when the kids came back to school, we had developed the online program so well that the schools liked that much better because it was more flexible for them. There were more ways for them to integrate it. So I'll give you an example of how, we've been more efficient. About 2 years ago, we began to realize that a lot of the schools were, because of their testing curriculum and sometimes procrastination because either undermanned or they had a lot of work to do, when it comes to that testing curriculum being so evasive. We realized that a lot of times our program wasn't being scheduled until late in the spring semester, which really went against what we wanted, which was getting to kids transitioning from grade school to middle school before they made decisions about alcohol and drugs. And then more importantly, ninth graders, when they came in, who are going to make decisions quickly about that when they get into school, and they're going to choose the friends that they hang out with very quickly, and they're going to make decisive decisions. And we all know that once they make that decision, all bets are off. And then they go down the road of drug or alcohol dependency, which never ends well. So what we did is we realized that almost all the schools participated the third week of October in Red Ribbon Week, which was an awareness program to get not only the schools, but the local community aware about drugs and alcohol and underage alcohol use. So we developed a 5-step program for 5 days. This year it would have been October 23rd through the 30th. So each day we provided our schools with a 5-minute video that started the process with discussion questions, skills application, and then a chance to take our drug and alcohol abstinent pledge at the end of that course. So we didn't just talk about fentanyl or alcohol. We began to deal with the root causes of alcoholism and drug use of students, things like peer pressure, depression, starting at a young age, dealing with self-image. So each day they got a different curriculum. And what we found is the schools, because that was a program they were already implementing, that we could get our program in by starting early in the semester in October. And then once they had our program, they had all the other implementations of the program and different aspects of the program that we could teach them about. So almost every year with our schools, we're emphasizing a new part of the program each and every year once we get them comfortable with that program. So what we found is now we were reaching the kids at the time they needed to be reached, which was the beginning of the semester of their, first year in middle school, first year in high school. So that was really critical. And this year we added National Drug and Alcohol Awareness Week, which is in March, which we provided a 5-day curriculum. We added a Fentanyl Awareness Day, which was in April this year. So each time we were able to reach out with new curriculum and tools and resources at different times of the school year. So we have some districts that use all of our programming, some that use just the alcohol and drug abstinence pledge program, some that use the fentanyl education plan. But the response was really positive because what the schools began to realize is they had a 365-day-a-year online curriculum and tools and resources that not only educated their students, but provided them the opportunity to bring accountability to their parents by providing a drug and alcohol education platform that, from the parents' perspective, dealt with how parents needed what they needed to know, how they needed to talk to their students, signs to look for, printable tools and resources. And then we had counselors over the last 3 years that helped us develop our counseling program. which is really effective because, the counselors are the ones who are dealing directly with parents and students and staff every day. They're the ones who are desperate need of tools and resources, and they were welcoming the program because rather than having to go out and do the research for themselves, we've done it for the schools. So really, we take care of three things that schools really don't like to do. Number one, provide their own programming, and because they don't have the manpower or the funding or the time to do it. Secondly, that we're not taking their kids out of the classroom, which was a big deal for the schools. And then the third thing, that principals didn't have to do any work. And most principals are belayed with a lot of responsibilities. And even if you could cure cancer, a lot of times they don't have time to put that time in. So we took it out of the principal's hands and put it in the most likely people that really would be familiar and want to do the program, which is counselors. So,
hey, Roman, so, you gave us a little bit of information about your background, and I'm wondering, was there a turning point? Because, you've created something so amazing. I want all of the Choose Love schools to hear from you, to check it out, to know about it, to do it. But was there a turning point or some reason that you chose to advocate in this way?
yeah, there is. I come from a family that has generational alcoholism.
Okay.
I had grandparents that struggled with it. My father struggled with pain pills and alcohol from his injuries in football, which is prevalent. I just did an interview on my show, the Roman Gabriel Show, this week with Brett Favre, the former Hall of Fame quarterback of the Packers, who had a very public bout with opioids and alcohol through the injuries that he suffered playing in the NFL. So we like to tell those stories, obviously, but the turning point for me was when I was in 10th grade. My brother was like me, an excellent athlete. He played football, basketball, baseball. He was a good student, a great kid. But all of a sudden in ninth grade, he chose to quit all sports. He got frustrated because he wasn't playing, quit, and he started hanging around the wrong group of kids, and started doing alcohol and drugs. And he didn't realize that we came from, generational alcoholism, neither one of us at that time. So the first drink he took of alcohol was his last time he had control over it. So he was a functioning alcoholic for 17 years without our family even knowing it. And it wasn't till he was 32 years old that on chance I visited him at his apartment to see how he was doing. And that was the day that he hit bottom. And I checked him into a rehab, took care of him in my home for a year while he recovered from alcoholism. And this was somebody who was drinking pretty much every single day. And he hasn't had a drink since 1988. And he's very successful in the real estate construction business, and lives an extremely, very proud of the life that he's lived. But he's fortunate. He's one of the fortunate ones because he was in a position where he's behind the wheel, driving drunk. He could have killed somebody, killed himself. He could have, many things bad could have happened for him that didn't, or he could have ended up in jail. So we're blessed that his life turned out that way, but we also know that there's a great deal of people like him that it doesn't turn out so well. So, that was a big impetus when my wife and I started serving, was to help kids understand that if they want to stay safe and live a life and reach their dreams and goals, then drugs and alcohol can't be a part of that success plan. So that's been my, I didn't have the problem my brother had or my dad had, but because of what I saw in my family and many of my friends who were disqualified from moving on to their dreams and goals because of bouts with drugs and alcohol and things that took them out of their race to be what they wanted to be. Because kids need to know there's consequences for your decisions, and consequences with drugs and alcohol never turn out well. And so for me, I was really fortunate. I got smart back in 1997, started speaking to kids about drugs and alcohol, and I just decided I don't want a kid or anyone to misunderstand for whatever reason to say, well, you're telling us to be drug and alcohol abstinent, but we see that you drink. So I just decided it really wasn't that important. So I haven't had a drink since 97 by choice. It's been the best decision that I ever made. And I tell kids the same thing. It's a temptation for everyone, adult or alike. All of us have been at parties. All of us have been approached many of us by drugs, somebody offering us something. So, we have to be vigilant every day. It's a decision we have to make every day, just like we get up and brush our teeth every day. And just like we do our chores every day. It's a habit like anything else. So, but one of the things that our program does is empowers kids to help each other. One of the problems with this generation of kids is isolationism. And that could not be better known by what happened with COVID. We still have the results of COVID going on now.
Yeah, absolutely.
With teachers, coaches, kids, parents. We won't know the results of on our kids for many years to come. So it's really important for us to get kids to understand that having close friends, having role models, having people we can speak to when we're not feeling good about ourselves, when one of the things that we try to tell kids is being depressed is nothing wrong with that. All of us get depressed. All of us deal with that. But there's a difference between depressed and depression. When it becomes something that you're dealing with every day, then you need to ask for help. You need to get someone to give help, and that's okay. So we really need to make it clear, especially in the dangerous world that we're living in, that emotional swings are a part of life. For me, my faith helps me with that. But for some kids, they just need hope. They just need to know that somebody cares about them. And what we've tried to do with our program is to say that, we're here for you. We want to give you the right information. We want to give you things that you can build on for success. So it isn't just about warning kids about what could hurt them, but turning their focus to what can help them.
That's so good. And, I've noticed that it seems like our tolerance level for being uncomfortable has lessened and lessened, as phone usage has gone up, and that numbing that we get from the phone and even from drugs. It's so easy to, reach for a pill to feel better, especially if you don't have essential life skills that you can call on to help you manage a difficult situation. And that's also why I started Choose Love, is to provide those essential life skills so that they can make a better choice for themselves. And they know, by the way, they know that it's a choice. But you talk really passionately about the dangers of fentanyl. And I know that it's the #1 cause of death for individuals aged 18 through 45 in the US. I have a personal story of one of my best friends whose son had some really bad stuff happen, to him earlier on. He was abused by family members, and then turned on to drugs. And that was it. I think he was 11 years old, and he died from an accidental fentanyl poisoning. I mean, he had purchased drugs from a drug dealer in the parking lot of a Walmart, I think, in a different town than where he lived. He'd had a drug problem. He was 30 something. So all that time in and out of rehabs, and he had planned to go to Disney World with his family. He already had the band, and so definitely it was not intentional, but he thought that he would do, one more hit, and he knew that he wouldn't be drug tested. He was living in a halfway house. He knew he wouldn't be drug tested by the time that he left. So he had this small window of opportunity, and his roommates just heard a thud on the floor, and that was it. And this is my friend's only son. So tragic. So, and I'm wanting to keep our kids safe. But here's the thing also, I think that it's a hard conversation to have with our children. I know I tried to have it, and my 25-year-old son today laughs at how, I tried to have this conversation because, we have addiction that runs in my family too. I told him that, and I said, so I'm not saying you can never have a beer, but I'm saying that you will never be able to have more than two beers. And, that's what I do. But
for your parents who are listening or watching today.
Yeah, exactly. How do we talk to our kids?
Yeah, let me just give you, first of all, we can't discuss something unless we know there's danger and we know how bad it is. So let's give you some stats.
Okay.
You said the first one. that it's the number one killer of 18 to 45-year-olds in our country.
Yeah.
Families Against Fentanyl, who does statistics on adolescent fentanyl, just came out with the 2023, which is the closest stats we have currently. It's the number two killer of 5 to 14-year-olds. I'll say that again. It's the number two killer to 5 to 14-year-olds after suicide.
Oh my
So
God.
that's one of the reasons why we start our program in fourth grade. As a
What did you say,
UCLA
5 years
study,
old? 5 years
yeah,
old?
number two killer. The other thing is a UCLA study that was done. 22 students per day are not per day. 22 students per week are perishing from this. 22 students. The third thing is we've had more people in this country, over 500,000 in the last 5 years, die from fentanyl poisoning than all of the soldiers, American soldiers in World War II, which was 403,000. I believe that's the figure. So if that puts into context for you why this is the number one health crisis, 90%, as you just said earlier, it was accidental. 90% of these deaths are accidental. Because someone doesn't know that fentanyl can be laced in what looks like a pharmaceutical pill, like a Xanax or a pain pill or a sleeping aid. It can be in cocaine, it can be in heroin, it can be even in marijuana and vape. One of the reasons why we're struggling so much in middle schools is in grade schools is vape is these kids get around the protocols on their phones. They're able to order and have been for some time ordering vape online. And there's even been instances of fentanyl laced in vape. And then you don't have to be the person doing the drug. You can be with a friend, touch something that it's been on, and if it's powerful enough, fentanyl can go through your system, through your pores, kill you that way. We've even had instances where it's been so prevalent that it's actually killed somebody through the nose, in terms of how powerful it is. And then the other problem is that you have thousands of people that are getting hooked on fentanyl, that if you try it in something and you don't die, then you get hooked on fentanyl, which is 50 to 500 times more powerful than heroin. It's the most powerful drug or poison known to man. So the biggest difference between what we're dealing with now and say the 70s period where we had cocaine as a problem, this is a poison where you have innocent kids and adults who are experimenting maybe for the first time, or who are innocently thinking that they can go online and purchase what they think is a pharmaceutical pill and have it delivered to their home, only to find out that it's a pressed fentanyl pill with majority of fentanyl pressed to look like your pill that you would get in a pharmacy. I've been to the DEA. They've shown me the printing presses that have come into the country and that are print out these pills in mass quantities, with basically just throwing as much fentanyl as you want and just putting it in a capsule that looks like a Vicodin or another painkiller or whatever it is.
So in other
And
words, they have the same stamps as, say, a Xanax, or
exactly the same
so
stamp.
there's
So
no way that you could tell the difference.
I've had DEA agents tell me that by the human eye, you can't tell the difference. So stats. When you go online, for example, and someone says that they have pharmaceutical pills, whether that be for a college student to help them stay awake during finals, or a pain pill that you can get cheaply and it's pharmaceutical grade, it's not. 7 out of 10 of these pills that are purchased online have fentanyl in them, and 42% of those 7 have enough fentanyl to kill you.
Oh my gosh.
So this isn't a chance situation. This is a situation that if you were to continue in that habit, at some point you're going to pay the price.
With
And
your life.
yeah, and one of the reasons why we have a parental program is we're just as concerned about the parents, because most of the kids that are in grade school and high school, their parents are 50 and under. So we've had instances where parents have made the same mistake of purchasing what they thought was a pharmaceutical grade pill online, having it neatly delivered to your home in a nice little package, and thinking that they're taking pharmaceutical grade pills. And parents, listen to me on this. The reason why we need national fentanyl awareness and we need a national fentanyl education program, which we're pushing for with governments and with the federal government, is we have a stat that just came out, and this doesn't prove it, then nothing does. 65% of seniors in high school think it's okay to receive what they think is a pharmaceutical pill from a friend. 65% of our kids think that's okay. the border's been closed down for the most part. So the enforcement piece we've executed quite well. But for 6 years, fentanyl's been coming into our country by thousands of pounds and being stockpiled in our country. So it doesn't matter the border's closed. There's enough fentanyl, there's enough drug dealers, there's enough cartel members that have brought it in, brought the printing presses in, that are doing it right here in our major cities and in small cities like where I live. You have groups like Tren de Aragua, MS-13, that are prevalent in our country. Here in North Carolina, we have both. So not only do you have to be looking out for what you said, the person who sells to your child, but you have to be looking out online, because on Snapchat currently, these drugs are being proliferated and sold, these fake pharmaceutical pills, and they're directly targeting your teenagers. So when you give your child a phone in fourth or fifth grade, you may think it's a safety item where they can call you if they get in trouble. But if you're not aware of what your children are doing and you don't have the safety protocols set up, then your kids have a device in their hands that could potentially bring them death. So we're not just talking about anymore the guy, with the dark clothes at the school that's at the outskirts of the fence. We're talking about when your kids are playing video games, when they're texting, when they're on social networking, when they're doing those things. And like your son at 25 years old, that target group of 18 to college age students are the target group, are the ones who are most at risk, because they're old enough to be able to make decisions for themselves, and they can go online and they can purchase these things. So many a college student that says, hey, I'm going to go online. I don't need to go to a doctor or ask my parents. I'm just going to purchase this pill to help me stay up for finals. And we've had deaths where the kids get around the protocols, use their parents' Visa or MasterCard, comes right in a little box. They get that box. And then like I've been told too many times by angel parents, they take the first pill, they find them dead in their bedroom or dead in their home. The parents don't know anything about what's happened. So what our program does, parents, is our parental program, which we're going to make available to Scarlett so that she can make it available to you.
Thank you.
Our education program for parents will educate you to fentanyl, educate you how your kids are approached by fentanyl, give you all the stats and statistics that you need from government entities like the CDC, the DEA, private organizations like Families Against Fentanyl, Facing Fentanyl. We even have courses, online courses you can take online if you really want to delve into this and learn more and more about it. But most importantly, we're giving you the tools about how to build trust with your students, how to talk to them about drugs and alcohol, how to have an ongoing conversation, what techniques that you can use, what signs to look for in your kids that might have a drug or alcohol problem, and then some real tools and resources that can educate you so that you can be proactive in this fight against fentanyl. Because what you don't want is if you don't want your kids to keep this from you. You want them to tell you the truth. You want them to get real with you, and you want to have that trust built. And the best way to do that is at an early age, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade. And when we do that, all the stats point to the fact that if we have these conversations early on before our kids make a decision about drugs and alcohol, and that's going to require you to learn. It's going to require you to understand how phones work. And we do that in the educational program. But if you do it, you may save yourself a tragedy that many angel parents are having to live with every day of their life, that they didn't know, their kids didn't know, they didn't have the proper information, and then they live with that guilt and pain of thinking, well, if only I would have known, I could have saved my child's life or saved my husband or wife's life or whatever it is.
Hey there, listeners. Are you feeling the weight of the world? Well, you're not alone. The U.S. Surgeon General says nearly 50% of parents are overwhelmed by stress. And guess what? It's affecting us all. Just last year, we heard about an epidemic of loneliness hitting half our population, especially young adults. But there's hope. I'm Scarlett Lewis, founder of the Choose Love movement. We're dedicated to your safety, health, and well-being with proactive mental health strategies. Imagine a life where stress and loneliness are replaced by joy and connection. We've already reached millions with essential life skills to prevent violence, substance abuse, and mental illness. Want to join this life-changing movement? It's easy. Visit chooselovemovement.org today. Become a member, spread the word, and access our free resources. Together, we can create a loving, supportive community. Remember, all the nurturing, healing love you give comes back to you tenfold. Thank you for choosing love.
I choose love. I choose love.
So kids are 50% less likely in high school to try drugs and alcohol if you've had this conversation
Wow,
at an
that's
early age.
huge.
So
That's
it's
huge.
this is all about communication. It's all about the other thing you said is, I understand that you're uncomfortable about this. I understand that some parents tell me, but Roman, if my kids aren't doing drugs and alcohol, which I don't think they are, and I talk to them about it, aren't I opening them up to potentially trying a drug or alcohol? And then some parents are like, how do I talk to them? How do I bring it up? And for some of you parents out there, I'm going to talk straight. The time for being your kids' friends is not now. The time for being your kids' parents is now. I became a friend of my dad and my mom when I got into college. But before that, mom and dad were disciplinarians. They set rules, guidelines, borderlines for me. And when I crossed those lines, there was consequences.
Mhm.
So we have to get real with our kids, because would we rather be undisciplined and maybe a little lazy and say, this will take care of itself, or do we want to put our kids in danger to where it could cost you your child? So what we want you to do is understand that our program doesn't require you to have to do a lot of talking. We have a video on our fentanyl education page at soldouttv.com. You just go to fentanyl education, you click at the top. The first video down is a video called Dead on Arrival. It's a 6-minute video that will tell you and your kids everything you need to know about fentanyl in a powerful docudrama that has parents that talk about it, that delves into what the problem is, how it started, what fentanyl is, how your kids are being approached, and it is life-changing. And it's what we use for parents and kids is the most powerful weapon we have. And here's the cool thing. You want to tell your friends about it? You don't have to call them and talk to them about it. Just take the link on your phone and send them the video. Let them see it. Let them send it to a friend. And here's what I'm going to tell you. We're used to this now, especially on Netflix and other programs where you pay for someone else to see it or pay it forward. The difference here is it's free.
Wow.
Take that
That's
link and go,
amazing.
you know what? I'm going to send it to 3 friends today, and they're going to send it to 3 friends, and they're going to send it to 3 friends. So the fastest way to disseminate this life-saving information is through your devices.
Yeah.
Because that's how people are comfortable getting their information, and they don't have a problem sharing a video or sharing something with a friend. I'm not asking you to have this in-depth conversation with people. It's one of the reasons why we're struggling with the fentanyl issue is
Right.
it is a stigma. It is something that's real.
Right.
And EMS professionals tell us that. So you don't have to. We've done all the work for you.
That's
So take that
incredible.
educational program, sit down with your spouse or with whoever it is that you're parenting with, or whether you're a grandparent, learn the information, take our advice, sit down with your kids. You don't have to talk about anything. Put the video on, and when that 6 minutes is done, you're going to be able to have a conversation, because your kids are going to know exactly what they're up against.
That's
And
incredible.
I need to thank my friend Jaime Puerta, who's an angel dad, who's in California. He and Dominic Tiermo, the producer of this film, not only put the film together, but made it available at no charge to any organization that wants to use it. So this powerful video has changed the lives of many people. It's what our school kids, when they see this, I have been in assembly rooms where we've shown this video to parents and kids alike, and there's not a pin will drop when it's over, because it is sobering. I have parents come to me in tears saying, we had no idea that this was the situation. Parents, don't listen to the news, because the news is sensationalizing this. They're just talking about how terrible it is and how political it is and all that stuff about the border, all that stuff. That's not what you need to know. We're going to give you the facts that we hope at some point the news will help us put out that video. Those videos should go out. The news should be using their platform to educate everyone. But until that happens, we believe that the school systems are the most effective way to disseminate the information. Why? Because they have a system set up that speaks to every kid every day, that speaks to every parent every day, and that speaks to every administrator and staff member, every SRO officer, every caseworker. And they're already tied to the district attorney, to the police, to the fire department, to the health department. And because there's athletic high school programs that are tied to radio stations that broadcast football and basketball games, we've created PSAs for those radio stations that they can put out to the general public and community. So what we're talking about here is a community dissemination. This is different than an awareness program. An awareness PSA program, you can't prove the target audience. Let me give you this. This is another big stat. 84% of the high-risk kids from 5 to 18 years old that are most at risk for poisoning from fentanyl are in public schools. So if we get a program like this in the classroom that delivers to every one of those 84%, with the school's cooperation and the government's cooperation, we could educate every student from 5 to 18 years old in our country in one semester about fentanyl, along with all their parents as a residual because of the way this program works.
That's so huge. Educators, that we have a lot of educators that are listening. Sold Out Youth Foundation. Check them out. You need to bring them in. And I think there may even be some parents that are listening that are still thinking, you know what, though? I know my child, and I know my child would never go out and look for drugs or anything. Like, they'd never order anything like that online. I know my child. But here's the thing that we're not realizing, that's becoming even more and more prevalent, that there is a dark web out there, and they target your children. They don't necessarily have to go out and search for it, because this dark web presence will come and find your child and will convince them in some way. They will interact with them. They're on the web. They are looking for targets. And, you know, that's really alarming as well.
I understand exactly what you're saying. And parents, I understand if you think that, but I'm going to give you a story right now that'll tell you different. I have a friend of ours that her name's Ann Funder. Ann is a parent, Newport Beach, California. She had a son who was going to high school. He had been to private school most of his life, 14 years old. He had never done a drug, never drank in his life. He was a football player, a surfer, an excellent student. He went to church every Sunday, youth group every Wednesday night. And his mom told him all about fentanyl and about what he needed to know, and let him know about the dangers that are out there. So he went to his first public school, started in ninth grade, and a friend of his that he trusted came to him and said, "Listen, I got a pill that we're going to split together, no big deal." And even though he knew, even though he'd never done it, he bowed to what is the most important thing we can talk about. Is I don't care how good your child is. I don't care how you've talked to them. I don't care about whatever. All of us, every one of us as teenagers has made a mistake. Our brains aren't completely fully developed till 21 to 25, depending upon whether you're male or female. So the way that our kids are, they're going to make mistakes. All we can do is educate them. Well, her son took half of the pill. Half of the pill had fentanyl. He got that part. His friend got the part without it. His friend lived, and her son died. That's what I'm talking about. That's what's going on all over the country. We're talking about kids that make one poor decision, that you know, they're not drug addicts. They've never done drugs or alcohol. And I'm going to give you a story of myself. As strong as I was, and you know, in terms of character, in terms of knowing right from wrong, when I was in high school, I had two friends on my football team who smoked marijuana on a regular basis. They hounded me day after day about trying marijuana with them. And I told them I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Um, about 6 months, they kept going. I said, guys, I said, if I try this one time and I don't like it and I tell you to never talk to me about it again, will you do that? Are we friends or not? And they said, yeah, we're friends. I tried it one time, never did it again. They never talked to me about it again. But parents, in today's world, I could be dead.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about. It
Yes.
only takes one. The
Ugh.
DEA's program, one pill kills. That's what we're talking about. And we're talking about kids that don't know. So the important thing about our program is I want to tell schools out there, if you want to talk to us about implementing the program in your system, just go to soldouttv.com. You can check out the program right there. We have a school program that's a preparation kit that if you ask for, we can send you so you can look at the program and we can talk to you. Usually we start with the superintendent, and once your superintendent approves, then they pass it to the student services director who deals directly with all the principals at the schools. It's a very simple process. Um, we are a nonprofit. We just cover our costs. It costs usually between $3.75 and $6 per student. I'll give you an example. In California, for example, they're spending around $17,500 per student to educate them for the year. So I don't think $4 a student for a year to keep them alive is a lot of money.
Right.
So on average, it usually averages for a school district for per school. It's ridiculous. Most schools tell me that the cost is cheap. So we've done everything we can to make it that way. Plus, we provide the training. We provide all the tools and resources. We provide all the iterations of the program. We provide the parental program. We provide the school staff program. We provide the PTA program, the athletic program, the Red Ribbon Week program, the National Drug and Alcohol Awareness program. So we provide everything, including all the up-to-date stats for adults that are on this, because one of the reasons why that we're still educating out there right now and have a long way to go is this is probably the first time some of you have heard the stats that we're talking about today, because it doesn't go well reported.
No, I was blown away.
So yeah, you can go to soldouttv.com. That's our public site. It
Great.
also has our school site is private. It's password protected, but you can see parts of the program on our website today at soldouttv.com. But we're excited to work with Scarlett because we think that your program, Choose Love, is really about what we're really about. We're choosing to love and care for our kids by keeping them safe. So I hope that we're going to be joining together where we can bring our program to the schools that you're in. We can provide your program as well, because they're both needed. I mean, really what it comes down to is when your child, regardless of what has happened at home or how they've grown up or what mistakes that they've made, every kid out there is looking for three things. They're looking for purpose, they're looking for hope, and they're looking for support. And as parents, we have to be that for them. I understand, some of the time, coaches fill that void and teachers fill that void and pastors fill that void, which is great. But if we're a guardian of our teenagers, it is ultimately our responsibility, not the schools, to educate our kids. And it's one of the reasons why we gave the option to the schools to send home the parental program, so that the schools didn't have to take responsibility for the kids, because it really needs to start at home. We'll do the part at ours at school, but you have to do your part by having a conversation with your students. And it's never too early to do that. It's not hard to tell, a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old, don't take a pill from anyone. Don't go on your phone and purchase anything that looks like a pill or a drug, and tell your friends and protect your friends and give them information. And if they make the mistake, keep them from making the mistake. And the cool thing about the response program, we've had a lot of students tell us, now that I know how to protect myself, I don't want to see my friends die. I don't want to see my friends take a drug from somebody they don't know. I don't want to see them approached online by somebody that they don't know. I want to tell them the truth. So we have a lot of kids who tell us now that they're not afraid to step up and to step in the void and to say to a friend, listen, You don't need to be doing that. And what I tell our students is just send them the video, show them the
Yeah,
video,
send
let
them the
them learn
video.
for themselves.
Life-saving video. And parents, we're going to be including that video in the description of the podcast, and you can click on that. Please share it, because you will save a life at some point. It may not be your child's, but it will be your neighbor's child. It will be somebody that gets it. You will be saving lives. And so just to wrap it up, Roman, thank you so much for spending this time with
Oh,
us.
real quick, Charlotte. Charlotte, we have a private school program, a Christian and faith-based program for Catholic and Christian schools. We also have a program for churches, for youth pastors, so that they can teach this information. It's biblically backed, similar to how scriptures would be used in terms of, from God's perspective, about drugs and alcohol, and about our kids, how they should live their life and how we should parent. So we've had a very powerful program in the churches that we provided it to, and the faith-based organizations we provide it to, whether that be schools or whether that be a YMCA, a Boys and Girls Club, or whatever it is. The bottom line is we have a program for everyone that we've developed. And again, it is online, it is easy to access, and anyone who wants to contact me can do it at soldouttv@gmail.com. That's soldouttv@gmail.com. Or you can get hold of me under Sold Out 41 at Twitter, Sold Out Students on Instagram, Sold Out Youth Foundation on LinkedIn. And I promise to get back to you within 24 hours.
Amazing. Amazing. So to wrap this up, we have a formula: courage plus gratitude plus forgiveness plus compassion and action equals choosing love. And I know that your program also talks about character and essential life skills. Why is that so important? And it's kind of a rhetorical question, but I want to hear you say it. Why is teaching these character values so important when you're talking about choices and saving lives and with the fentanyl and opioid crisis?
Well, I'll point you to our most valuable program that the kids think is the best part of our program. And it's not the drug and alcohol program, the fentanyl program, the abstinence program. It's called our character education program. You can go to the top of the page under student resources and click on character education.
All right. Thank you so much, Roman.
You bet. Thank you, Scarlett.
Hey, hey, oh. It's all part of us. We can all choose love. It'll lift you up if you live.